Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel from a very, very muggy Swindon. But apparently we had some rain this afternoon and I missed it. So, but it was only about 20 seconds, so I didn't miss a lot. Okay, so this evening we've got a panel on to review the Northampton game and to look at our first home game on Saturday against Cheltenham. So just a couple of things. Matchday draw subscriptions. If you do want to get a subscription for the season, can we please have it in sort of by Thursday, which will allow us to get those lists ready for the first game on Saturday. Membership, as we said, nothing. We're not doing season ticket holders this season included. So if you do want to become a member, and please do, we'd love to have you. It's a £5 for the season, and you can do that online at our shop. So if you need any help with that, just give us a shout on our website or on our email. So well done to the girls yesterday. First home game for the girls, and they come from behind to win 4-2, which is a fantastic result. Plymouth were already in that league last season. So as you know, we've moved up a league. So good start against the into the season for that. And Junior Reds can pick up their season gifts from 1 o'clock in the Junior Reds room. So it's opening in half an hour earlier just for collection, and then at 1:30 the room will be open for activities and things. So that's all good. And we have some charity shirts on eBay from the Accrington game, or proceeds to Prospect. So if you want to have a look on eBay and see what we've got on, I think we've got Holman, McGregor, Ollie Clark's second shirt, because he changed halfway through, and I can't think of the other one, but I will do. Another Aidan Borland one as well. So please have a look on there, and if you want to bid, please bid. It ends on Friday, I believe, or Saturday. So have a look at those. Just going to bring Vic on. Hello. How are you?
Hello. We had a brief power. I'm all right. We had a brief power cut at exactly 7 o'clock. So the internet problems continue in darkest Devon. I don't know what to say. I mean, it was just milliseconds, but it was enough to, you know.
Oh, bless you. Not like the alert for the wildfires on Friday that really took everybody by surprise. That was at 7 o'clock Friday, wasn't it? So
that was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? We went, oh, what's that? What's going on? Yeah. I know. I got some SAS news before we have another power cut for you. Oldham Athletic, we play there a week on Saturday, of course. And you'll be aware they had humongous problems on Saturday, did they not, with their 12:30 kickoff with Port Vale. Let's hope it's a bit better when we go up there. Oldham will be on sale tomorrow morning. This is SAS Travel. That's in the club shop or by phone. Season ticket holders, £31. Non-season ticket holders, £33. Departing West Swindon at 8 o'clock in the morning. The Nigel Eady County Ground at 8:30. So that's Oldham a week on Saturday, the 29th. That's our first long trip of the season. Northampton doesn't really count as a long trip, does it? But Oldham certainly does.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, got anything else, or should we bring our guests on?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah, let's get them on.
Okie dokie. So we have Bill.
Hiya.
We have Rob.
Evening all.
We have Gus. And we have Steve, who we haven't seen for a while. So
hello.
There we go. Okay, and I will leave you and see you all later.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. Don't go too far, just in case there's more power cuts and goodness knows what, because who knows what will happen down here. I've got the horses running around in circles to try and keep the power going, but you never know, do you? And Tony says we can hear me, so it's whether I can hear anyone else. That's the biggest question I've got. Phil, can you speak a moment, please?
Yes. Hearing you loud and clear.
Hello. Yes. Marvellous hearing you. Rob, can you speak too?
Yeah, all the votes coming from the Swindon jury here.
Excellent. This is like the Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it? Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Vic.
All good?
Yep.
Brilliant. And finally, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't. Gus can't hear me. He's over 3,000 miles away. But can you hear me, Gus?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Wow, marvellous. That's fantastic. All right, that's very good indeed. Right, Northampton Town 0, Swindon Town 0. That was the way we opened the season on Saturday at Sixfields. It wasn't the greatest game in the world, but Phil, it's a point on the board, might well be. A point on the board and no goals conceded. So there are positives to be taken.
I would have taken a point before we arrived in Northampton. I came away satisfied that we got the point, no goals. And as Conor Ripley said after the game, last season we would have lost that game. And there was, I felt, a lot more grit and determination defensively. I thought Stefan Negru had a fantastic game at the back there. And I was overall satisfied, unlike a lot of the Swindon fans who were bereft and this is the end of the world. I thought it's early days, and when I look at Salford losing, Port Vale losing, Bristol Rovers losing, they've all spent lots of money. I thought, well done, we've come away with a point.
Yep. Rob, what was your view? I mean, it wasn't the greatest game in the world, let's be honest, was it? I mean, for most of the game, you're sort of thinking, come on then. I mean, I thought the first 25 minutes was really entertaining, but for the rest of it, it wasn't the greatest.
No, I mean, again, it depends whether your glass is half full or half empty, I think, how you view a result like that. It did emphasise where the differences were from last season, but it also was very noticeable where the shortcomings were as well. I mean, the positives, defensively, we looked a lot more solid. There's no doubt whatsoever the two centre halves were the best two players on the pitch from our side. And we looked relatively secure. The only times Northampton really threatened us was when we overcommitted, certainly from wing back, and they caught us on the hop a couple of times second half when they put balls in behind where the wing backs had gone too far forward. But that apart, I can't really think of them testing Conor Ripley. To be honest, I think he was well protected by his defenders. So away from home, you've got to roll your sleeves up, haven't you? You've got to work hard, and you've got to chisel out results sometimes, and that is what we did. But the counter argument, of course, is our passing was dreadful on the day for the vast majority of it, and we failed to create any real decent chance. I think there was one chance for Ollie Clark first half that he smashed over, and there was a ball across from in the second half that Hungbo just couldn't quite get on the end of from Drinnan. And that aside, we really were bereft of any chances whatsoever. So it certainly wasn't a game to be entertained in. But when you look at the cold light of day, I think Phil's just mentioned the teams that lost on Saturday, who were one of the sort of like teams that are expected to be well up there come the end of the season. If you chisel out an away point on the opening day, you get yourself off the mark. You can't be too disappointed with that, I don't think.
No, a clean sheet and a point on the board. I mean, your accuracy, Swindon 62.7% in terms of passing accuracy. Northampton, a little better, 68.3%. So take your point about the accuracy of passing. Gus, from over 3,000 miles away, what was your view of the game?
Well, I will confess right away, it's taking me a while to get used to the players, particularly the new players, because I wasn't able to watch any of the preseason games, just the way the television or the hookup works. So this was new for me, watching a lot of these guys, Millard and Hungbo and Negru, and a lot of the people were all new. So it was exciting for me. I thought we played a great first, I think somebody said 25 minutes. We were putting pressure on them right and left. We were looking pretty good. We had some really nice long diagonal passes, which I never really thought about such a thing before. where it was kind of catching them off guard a little bit, which I thought looked really good. Obviously, it didn't keep up. We weren't able to ever score. Rob mentioned the cross to Hungbo, which another foot would have had a goal there. There was another pass to Drynan at one point where the guy kicked it right to his feet. I think, was it maybe Millard? Somebody kicked it. If it had just been a little bit more in front of him, we had a few chances, but our offense just wasn't getting, wasn't connecting. And the real question now is, can we learn from it? Can we learn how to continue to do what we did on defense and do better on offense? One of the things last year, later in the season, that was killing us was bad crossing. Our crosses just weren't anywhere where anybody could get to them, and half the time there was no one there anyway. So, I think if we can start working on crossing and getting some people in the box, hopefully we can fix the offensive problem.
Yeah, crossing is I think throughout football it's a problem, it seems to me. Whatever level you play at, crossing a ball and finding a target seems to be a problem. Steve, you were doing co-commentary with Andrew on Saturday. What was your view of the game?
Yeah, it just felt to me during the whole game it was two teams cancelled each other out. As we've already spoken about, there wasn't really many chances created. Connor Ripley's only save was from the lad on loan from Leicester to Northampton, Briggs, which was just off to the left of him, not too much, but that was probably the only save of any note of either keeper in the game. You just never know what you're going to get on the opening day of the season. You can have all the preparation in the world, but you obviously go into it and you're not really a finely tuned and oiled machine. There's still an element of rustiness. There's often a lot of adrenaline for the players because it's the first league game and that excitement, but you sometimes get some quite scrappy games. And as Phil's quite rightly said, if you look across the league, there's a lot of teams that you would have predicted who will be up there at the end of the season who have lost their opening game of the season. So you're still better off coming away from there with a point. But it did feel like two teams that cancelled each other out. I think Northampton probably would have been happy with a point after the season they had last season, changing the manager, but still not able to sort of maybe change their squad as much as he would perhaps like. He's probably picked up some players that are still contracted he can't shift on. So he's still sort of finding his way there. So like I say, it just felt like two teams that cancelled each other out. Wasn't masses. It's quite difficult when you do the commentary when it's not that exciting a game because obviously you need goals and action and saves and the crossbar and the post being hit and controversial moments perhaps with referees to get excited about or to talk about. So when the game isn't overly exciting, it's actually quite difficult to commentate on. But as I say, at the end of the day, there's another 45 games to go. So I think you take the point and you move on to Cheltenham.
What's the professional view of not getting beat on the opening day of the season, especially away from home? I mean, before the game, I think most people would have gladly have taken a point. And professionally, the fact is you've got a point on the board. You haven't conceded. Decent day's work apart from the offensive side of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you might be a little bit. It depends on how the game's gone. If you've absolutely battered Northampton and you've only drawn, you're disappointed. But as you said, there wasn't many chances either way. I think you're relatively happy because you have all that excitement of pre-season building up to the first game, and then if you go and lose, it's pretty miserable, to be honest with you. So yes, you want to win, of course, but when you come out of it with a point and importantly a clean sheet, then I think you're sort of satisfied, really. It gives you something to build on. Whereas if you lose that opening day, then that week's training building into the second game, I'm not saying it's masses of pressure, but there is an element of pressure builds because then, right, crikey, we don't want to lose two games on the trot. So at least if you get that point, it's a starting point, really.
Yeah, the local derby on Saturday, of course, with Cheltenham visiting the county ground. Any news on Glatzel, says Tony? I think he was back in training today, if I read correctly. So it's not too serious. It was a slight hamstring problem. Aren't they all? Also thought it was a hard-fought game. Draw was a good point, solid in defence. And do we need another striker, said Richard. Well, of course, we signed a midfield player today, 19-year-old from Newcastle, Anthony Dunder. I think that's his name. That's how you say it, Phil. We need a midfield enforcer, don't we? That was sadly lacking on Saturday, I think it's fair to say. What's your view of that?
We need somebody who can create and set the balls into the right positions for the players who we've got some pace up front with Drinnan's running, Millard or Hungbo going to get those balls in behind their defenders to really start to pull them apart. I think one of the things we do lack is anybody to hold the ball up front, because Drinnan's ball control is awful. He can score goals, but holding a ball up, the ball will often go 2-3 yards off his foot. And so the balls are keep coming back. And we do need to have Harry Smith or whoever to come back into that team to be able to hold the ball up. And then you can press, I think, teams much better.
Well, the Swindon lineup was this on Saturday. Ripley was in goal, of course. Then across the back, Mitch Clark, who got a yellow on 37, and Negru. Here we go. Majekan Dumney. I think I'm close, but may not be close enough. Tafazoli came on for him on 67 minutes. Then Kurtman. Then Nichols in front of the back four. He got a yellow on 73, was replaced by Griffiths-Brown on 91. Then the midfield four, Millard, Virtue, Clark and Middlemass. Hungbo came on for Millard on 51, Palmer for Clark on 67, and then Pearman making his debut for Middlemass on 68, and then Drinham, the lone striker up front, if you were. Phil, Rob, sorry, what was your sort of take on that side? I thought the young Australian, Majeku Dumney, was really rather good. I thought he had an excellent game. Reads the game, knows where he's going, good positioning. I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, I think we'll refer to him as Joey from now onwards, bearing in mind he's Australian. That's probably as good as we're going to get, isn't it? But I have to say, I thought both centre-backs were excellent. And Tafazoli, when he came on, didn't put a foot wrong either in terms of the defensive areas. Kirkman, Clark, I thought both of them looked quite solid as well. There were a couple of times first half when Kirkman got exposed a little bit, and Clark too took a booking when he probably didn't need to do that. But overall, I think you'd probably be well satisfied with your defensive setup. I'm not sure Nichols as a defensive midfield player is something that you'd want to do long term. That didn't really work. It was one of his poorer games, I thought. His passing wasn't really there. So that's the area, I think, that midfield area where there were issues on Saturday. I think it was Middlemass is showing promise, but at the moment he's more of an in and out player, I think. He'll do some really good things, then he'll disappear for a little while. Clark, you know what you're going to get with Ollie Clark. He's got he's going to give you box to box. He's going to work extremely hard. But it never really paid off in an attacking sense on Saturday. Just got his one opportunity. And the out wide, we really hoped that Millard would take a few steps forward, didn't we, on Saturday? But unfortunately, I think the game following on from Cardiff was probably just a little bit too much for him. I think he's another one of these young players that needs to come in and out. And obviously, Hungbo, you would think, would become a more regular starter. So I think the 6 in front of the 4 at the back will probably be a bit of a mixed mash over the course of the next few weeks. If rumours are true and there may be more than one midfielder coming in over the course of the next week, then I think we might see a completely different setup come Cheltenham on Saturday.
Of course, the thing is, Gus, we lost Glatzel before the game, and you know, an important part of his play is the press. And of course, when you've lost a player like Glatzel, we missed him at the end of last season when he was out injured. It's a big minus, isn't it, when you lose him?
Yeah, I mean, he's the proven attacker, right? I mean, he's the proven striker. We've got some guys who look well, and of course, Drinan, but we've got some newer guys who look really good too. And then Palmer, when he came on, although he didn't really seem to do much. One thing that I noticed in the game, especially early on, I thought the referee was just letting them play. I mean, you could pretty much do anything you wanted, and there was not going to be a foul or that kind of thing. And on the one hand, I know people like that a lot of times, but it also can mess players up. You know how to play the game. You know what you're supposed to be able to do and what you're not supposed to be able to do. And then when the ref isn't calling anything, first of all, you're going to get hammered. And then you think, well, should I do something different? Should I do things that I wouldn't normally do. It's kind of a parallel in U.S. baseball, where there is a very defined zone that should be a strike, but umpires, quote, have their own strike zones sometimes, and it's really hard for the batter and the pitcher when they're calling things balls that should be strikes and strikes that should be balls. So anyway, when I was seeing that happening, I was kind of thinking, I don't think that benefits us. I don't think it benefits anybody to have the ref not making the calls that he should be making. I also just want to mention one thing. I noticed there were water bottles along the side of the field. Is that a normal thing? I mean, it's a great idea, but I saw people always go outside and people would take a quick drink of water. What a great idea.
Well, we didn't have did we have a hydration break? I can't remember.
No, it's the
Didn't we?
equivalent of our
Not
hydration
on
break, I
Saturday,
think.
no.
And stick a whole load of bottles on the side of the pitch.
Yeah.
Kind of a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, it is a good idea, and I agree with you. So they can take a drink when they want to take a drink, and they don't have to stop the game, which I think is, very beneficial to most teams. Steve, I mean, whatever level of football you've played at, defence constantly and having people coming at them, it's hard work, isn't it? And I think you've got to praise the Swindon defence Saturday because generally speaking, they did really well. I mean, Robert's mentioned the two centre backs, and for a new pairing, I thought they looked really good. So you have to praise the defensive unit.
Yeah, definitely. As everyone said, I thought the Negru and Kalen Majek Edodumni, which is not easy to say on the commentary as well, it did really well. Obviously, sort of one very much unproven, and even Negru's only sort of played 65 games in his senior career, so he's not what I'd call a proven defender, but he's obviously a little bit further down the line than Kalen is. But as a pairing, I thought they did really well. There was a couple of little naivety moments, maybe the one where Kalen got caught with Connor Ripley playing and his sort of pass got blocked and Ripley made a comfortable save. But that's going to happen at times. But I thought as a pairing, they did really well. In fact, to be fair, if Kalen hadn't come off, he was probably in my head and my thoughts for man of the match, just sort of shading Negru, probably on the basis of it was his Football League debut more than anything. Obviously, he did come off, so I sort of plumped for Negru in the end as man of the match. But I'd say as a pairing, I thought they did really well. Because that was probably, when we did a preview show with BBC Radio Wiltshire last week, that was probably my concern, that I felt that there needs to be more experience in that back line. We know how good Tafazoli is as a player when he's available, but I would have liked to have seen Swindon sign a Mickey Demetriou or Sawamni at Bromley type of centre-back who's going to be powerful in our box and powerful attacking set plays. But they haven't gone that route. They've gone with youth. And so there's always a bit of a gamble. But as a pairing, I thought they did really well on Saturday. But obviously, that's one game. They've got to try and replicate that and keep replicating that. You would imagine at some point Tafazoli will come back into the starting lineup, maybe on Saturday against Cheltenham if he gets a full week of training under his belt, which would be his second full week of training. And that would probably be nothing to do with the form or performance of Negru or Kalen. But yeah, those two did particularly well. Mitch Clark is solid, played 200 league games. You get what it says on the tin. And Kirkman did pretty well. So the back line with Connor behind them was solid. But obviously you do need some sort of cover in the midfield as well. But trying to get the balance in midfield is difficult because you want someone who's going to compete, win tackles a la Ollie Clark, but you also need someone alongside them who is, as has been mentioned, is a little bit more creative at the other end of the pitch. So getting that balance right, they probably haven't quite got right just yet. But that's certainly an area that will probably need to be addressed moving forwards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's have a look at some of the statistics. Northampton 3, Swindon 0. Goalkeeper save, Northampton 0, Swindon 3. 10 corners, Northampton to Swindon's 1, which wasn't a lot, was it? And then total offside, Northampton 2, Swindon 4. The passes, Northampton 385, Swindon 370. I mean, basically, Phil, that all adds up to a 0-0, doesn't it? not too much in the way of positive statistics, I would have said.
Yeah. One thing I did feel on Saturday that Ripley's distribution was slow at times, especially when Millard was on, that Ripley's got a good throw. I was surprised he didn't throw the ball out quite rapidly to Millard, because Millard was getting space and would give him time to get on the ball, and it would have forced Northampton to get back much quicker. And I think it's that distribution. However many balls did find a red shirt from Connor's distribution. I'm not sure what the percentage on that was, but I just think more thought needs to go into our distribution from the back, especially now we've got one or two fast players to get them going at the opposition defence.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at some of the comments coming in then. Were you all surprised seeing Ian Holloway doing a Paolo Di Canio at the end? Because he came over and sort of paid tribute to the away fans, didn't he? Which is not something he does very often. Is there any news on Smith's return? Well, we haven't heard anything recently. Maybe ask Steve about that. Maybe Andrew Hawes gave him a clue on Saturday. It says here, says Adrian, Negru has a mistake in him. We'll see. And Carol, hi Carol, Will Holloway of Magic and Negru together going forward. We know how much he constantly tinkered with the starting 11 last season. Rob, what's your view on that? I mean, if you've got a decent centre-back pairing, do you stick with them? Do you bring Tavazoli in? What do you do? I mean, Tavazoli, I love the way he sort of stalks along the touchline when he's looking to come on. He looks like some sort of, something looking for his prey, doesn't he? But is he going to come on? Do you think he's going to take his place and get a few games?
Well, for me, Vic, I think football's turned into a squad game now. Whatever way around you look at it, it's horses for courses. And I think Ian Holloway, as a coach, likes to manage that way. I think we've all grown up over the years with, you want your back four to be a solid back four and generally stay the same throughout the season. And certainly goalkeepers, I'm sure Steve will say, you want your defenders to be used to you and you want to be used to the way that your defenders defend. So it's got its advantages keeping everything the same. But I do think, especially with the likes of a Tafazoli, who is your best defender when he's fit, but isn't going to play 46 games a season, certainly not 90 minutes in 46 games a season, you've got to give the others opportunities as well. And it was great to see them both step up and take a real step forward on Saturday. It was noticeable, though, that Northampton didn't really have any powerful strikers. It was a little bit of pace down the sides to cause them a few problems, but there wasn't really an aerial threat like there was at Cardiff. Okay, Caelan didn't play at Cardiff, but Negru did, and he did have an issue with Salesh, didn't he? Certainly in that second half, ball over the top. So we haven't been tested properly yet from all types of different forwards. We've only had that one game, but you can't judge players on games that we haven't had yet. They've got to see how they get on with it. And I do think when the big players from other oppositions come up against us, I'm sure Tafazoli will be a starting centre-back on those days if he's fit. Don't think there's any doubt about that. But like I say, I think we've now turned into a squad system. I think it's really important that everybody gets minutes quite regularly. And the way that Ian Holloway seems to like to use his whole squad, bring on as many substitutions as he can during the game, certainly at the start of the season when it's very hot and players are going to get tired early, it's the right thing to do. So I think Steve's right. I think Tafazoli would start on Saturday if he gets a full week's training in him. And who they decide to drop out of the two, I'm not so sure. But of course, we have got to get used to four at the back this year, it looks like. That does seem to be the Ian Holloway way this time, whereas last year we had five. So maybe we don't need quite as many centre-halves or get through as many centre-halves as we did last season.
Need Snowden back. I mean, he's a player we've kind of forgotten about, really. I mean, he's been out injured from pre-season. So, he adds quite a lot as well with his pace, doesn't he? Gus, what was your highlight from Saturday? I was going to say, what was your highlight? Probably the final whistle, I would think. I mean, it wasn't the worst game you've ever seen in the world, but it wasn't the best. But I mean, what would you take from that?
Boy, yeah, you're kind of putting me on the spot. I mean, it was a 0-0 tie, so it's not a lot of highlights. I think one of the highlights for me, and I was thinking as they were happening, you know, they had, I don't know how many corners we had, but not many, and they had considerably more, and we marked their men really well. Last year, we had a problem at certain points in the season. Guys would just be wide open, even on long throw-ins sometimes. There were a few times when we just fell asleep. That did not happen. I was specifically watching, and, you know, with a lot of great defense on corner kicks, which was really good. And another highlight, I don't know who the man of the match would have been. Again, it's hard on a 0-0 draw. But Connor Ripley is steadfast. You know, I am really, really glad we've got that guy kind of leading this team, because I don't worry when the ball, you know, I mean, some balls are going to go in, of course, but, you know, he's getting every ball that he needs to get, he's getting. And he's just a solid player. So we're very fortunate to have him. And another highlight, long answer. The fans, 1,534 people traveled there. That's really great. That's really, really, really good. I think there were only, what did they say, 7,000 fans total in the stadium. So you guys must have been a presence. Yeah. Good.
It was noisy.
Good.
Yeah, it was good to see. I mean, Northampton, one of the shorter trips of the season, of course. Northampton always gets a good crowd there, but very good indeed to get that sort of backing. We had it at Cardiff the week before. We'll see how many we take to Oldham in 2 weeks' time. Of course, that's always, but that always gets a good crowd there too. So let's keep that going. Steve, what about the referee? Because we were saying throughout the course of the game, he didn't seem to enforce a lot of the new rules. What was your view of that?
Yeah, I think he's, in terms of throw-ins, I thought they got the throw-ins back in play quite quickly. But one thing that sort of I mentioned in the commentary in the game, there was 2 occasions where Swindon got off a little bit lightly if you're basing it on the new rules, in terms of there's a couple of set plays where I can't remember who it was. Might have been Clark on one. I can't remember. There was 2 occasions where we've manhandled, shall we say, a Northampton player, where the rules I thought had changed, whereby you couldn't sort of grapple as much, and we got away with a couple where on another day perhaps another referee might have given a penalty, for example. So I'm not sure how defined he was on those rules, but it fell in Swindon's favour, so we're not going to complain. As I think, I can't remember who was mentioned earlier, it might be Phil, he didn't seem to, no, sorry, it's Gus, I think. He didn't seem to give too many decisions in terms of, he let the game flow. There were certainly a few borderline fouls, which on another day and another referee might have been given. And sometimes that's a negative, sometimes that's a positive. I mean, he was letting the game flow. He wasn't card happy, which is a positive, but at times, you know, there were certain free kicks you thought was a free kick. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see over the coming next batch of games how tight the officials are, particularly on when it comes to set plays and the grappling and like, you know, the arms round the waist of another player and trying to block them from getting a free run on your goal. So it'll be interesting to see how much the referees do deal with those situations. But in terms of keeping the game flowing, I thought he kept the game flowing. Every time there's a goal kick, he did sort of wait for the goalkeeper to spot the ball. Then he was sort of, I could clearly see his hand up in the air, counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So those little bits and pieces he was on top of. But yeah, just the grappling a little bit. I sort of half wondered if he'd be a little bit more harsh on those situations.
What about you, Phil? Are you kind of over? I mean, it takes ages to get used to these new rules, doesn't it? And then they change them again at the start of next season. So how are you with them?
Well, I read through the list that was sent out, and I thought, how's any referee going to take all this on board in one go? I felt the ref on Saturday had missed the Zoom training session in it, because I felt he did very little of using the new rules in the way in which they should have been. And I did feel there were a number of occasions where the throw-ins took an age, well, they were trying to get a long throw. And, I just feel that holds up the game so much. And, the goal kicks, I did notice him, let the goalkeeper know he was counting, but I do think he struggled to count properly. He may have counted in halves, not whole numbers, to extend the number of seconds they could have the ball. But I just felt overall, if it had been a more feisty game, I didn't feel he would have had control. I just felt he was on the edge all the time. And as I said, I was overall disappointed not to see the new rules really being introduced into the game.
Well, the referee was Scott Oldham. The assistant was the first assistant was Daniel Guest. The second assistant was Anthony DeCosta. Wasn't he in the Blue Boy Band at one point? Anthony, that's not the same one, I don't think, is it? And the fourth official was Lee Crowhurst. So that's the way the officials lined up. Swindon finished the day in 14th place, played one, no goal difference, and points won. That's irrelevant, of course. And this is from old Duffer Ratahaya. The referee, I think, must have been on holiday and missed the memo on throw-ins, goal kicks, etc. What was your view, Rob? I mean, there's this thing about you get more time because it's a set piece. I mean, is that right? Is that true?
No, that's rubbish. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's you either have the rules or you don't have the rules. You either enforce them or you don't. And I think we had a clear example on Saturday. And I don't have a problem with it. I thought he actually was very consistent with the way that he refereed the game. And as a player, whilst it may not necessarily be everything that you expected, it was, you ask for consistency, don't you? As supporters, we ask for consistency so that we know what we're going to go. And he didn't want to go down the road of really clamping down on day one on tackles. He didn't want to go down the road of making sure that all these throw-ins got retaken because they were more than 5 seconds. And I think, unfortunately for him, he's going to get a little bit more bad press because there wasn't really much in the game to talk about. Had it been a 3-3 all draw or something like that, you'd have probably said, ref had a good game. She didn't notice him. He didn't do anything. But because it was a 0-0 draw and not much happened, I think there's probably a little bit more criticism coming his way because of that. But Phil used the words, Steve used the words earlier on, that the game cancelled each other out. Both teams cancelled each other out. And that was largely how it felt. Not only in terms of the scoreline, but as neither side really were in any great rush to do anything. You always fancied pretty much from minute one that a point was really what both sides had set themselves up to get. Northampton, coming off the back of a bad season, knew they didn't want to lose their first home game, and that was the most important thing for them. 3 big centre-backs, you could see what they were planning to do was to try and keep a clean sheet. And if they get something when they're attacking, then all good for them. And you could see from Swindon's perspective, there wasn't that much fluidity at all in the way they wanted to go forward. They didn't overcommit very often. And because of that, they always had a good shape. It was always a good shape about them. They were quite solid. So I think when it comes to the referee, sometimes you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, aren't you? You can't. I always look at referees and say, did he make a big mistake in the game? And he didn't. He didn't make a big mistake at all. He was consistent. No. And okay, he may not have implemented all of the new rules in the way that we were expecting, but I didn't have a problem with it.
But I think on the players, Rob, it's unfair in the sense because next week the ref could be a stickler for the new rules. And they don't know where they are.
Phil, I do get that, but then you can only judge a game on its own individual merits, can't you? And if the referee does that in the first 5 minutes and he's then consistent from that point forward, you know as a player what level he's going to be refereeing the game at. So next week might be a different game. You've got to judge it on its merits.
They're still subjective, though, aren't they? Because it's like when the goalkeeper gets the ball for a goal kick and they spot it, it's still subjective as to when the referee starts counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's still, it's not like as soon as the ball goes out of a goal kick, the referee's starting to count. It's literally the goalkeeper gets it, comes back. He'll judge whether the goalkeeper's taken a long time to get back to spot the ball, but it's still his decision when he starts to count down from 5. So it's still going to be subjective. So you're still going to get one referee one week thinking one thing and another referee the next week thinking a different thing. So you're never going to get that black and white, are you?
So
And that's the law, isn't it, Steve? That's the way the law's written. It is subjective. It's down to the referee's interpretation.
Exactly.
So what's your advice going to be to goalkeepers when you start coaching in the league?
Well, I think that's the difficult thing. I think it's almost see how it pans out over games. I think you'll find goalkeepers seeing what they can get away with.
Yeah.
And again, depending on the state of the game, if you're losing, you're going to rush to get the ball back into play anyway. If you're winning or drawing and you're not in a rush, then you're going to take your time. But you're going to almost is the referee going to have a go at me like straight away? Right, okay, no, I need to speed things up. So you're always going to try and try and test those boundaries with referees and see what they do.
Yeah, it was interesting, actually. There was a telling moment, I think, right at the end in injury time when the Northampton goalkeeper basically almost had a cup of tea and a 3-course meal to take his time over a goal kick. So that would go along with what you were saying, Rob. They were very happy to take that point, weren't they, for a first game of the season? I thought that was really quite amusing, that moment.
That really surprised me, Vic.
That
really did surprise me. I was amazed at that. I thought, as a home team, the last thing you're going to do as a goalkeeper with 3 or 4 minutes left is take your time. You're going to really go for it. And no, he spent he must have wasted about a minute of the 4 minutes of stoppage time getting that goal kick in play.
Yeah, it was really quite interesting. On the throw-in rules, it must be confusing for players if one ref doesn't bother, and the following week another ref will be on it like a tramp on chips. So thank you, Old Duffer Rafter, for that. Gus, I mean, a lot of these new rules are brought in the World Cup. What was your view during the World Cup, and what was your view on Saturday?
First of all, one of my biggest disappointments in this game is that I entirely missed the halftime show because it was not shown on TV. So I don't know who sang and how they got all the confetti off the field in time for the second half. But I missed the whole thing. So that's a real disappointment. When I saw that the added time for the half was 1 minute, I don't think I'd ever seen 1 minute added in one of Swindon's games before. It's always 4, 5, 8 minutes. So I thought at least they're pretending like they're following the rules, because they're trying to rush things and get things going. Admittedly, there were no major injuries, thank goodness, or anything like that. I don't know, we talked about water. There doesn't need to be a hydration break if you just use common sense and let people run to the sideline and get a drink if they want it. It seemed like things flowed pretty well, didn't it? I mean, people got off the field pretty quickly and there were a lot of substitutes, but they were pretty quick getting off the field. I guess when it's 0-0, people want to keep the game going. I mean, everybody is thinking that they're going to win at that point, I'm assuming. What else? I think that's my main thing. The only thing I wanted to mention, there's all this speculation that World Cup here in the U.S. and it was going to be the beginning of an avalanche of support for football or soccer here. I haven't noticed any difference since everybody went home. I don't think there's a massive uptick in interest in football here in the U.S. I will say college football starts in 3 weeks. There'll be a lot of interest when that happens. The American football. So we'll see. I think it's going to be more like a glacier than an avalanche. There is increasing support, but it's not going to come all at once. It's going to come as kids get older and people who played get into middle age and are interested in watching games.
Fair enough. Hi, Malcolm. One game in hoofball, 4 shots, none on target. The fault lies with Ian Holloway, not the referee. Take the red tints off, lads. I don't think we're all going around with red tinted glasses. I thought we did a pretty good analysis of it, Steve. I mean, is what Malcolm says fair?
It's the first game of the season. Like, a lot of changes, a lot of new players that are out injured. Like I said at the start, it's not going to be a well-oiled machine. The only thing I sort of noticed more predominantly was there was more diagonal balls played, both from defenders and Connor Ripley. So that whether it works or not is another matter, because obviously didn't get the win. But it looked like you could see what they were trying to do. Whereas last season, I wasn't really sure if they were trying to be a possession-based team, a direct team. I wasn't really sure what they were trying to be at times, but they did look to be more diagonals played. The only problem with that sometimes is like when you were playing left to right, Millard, I love Millard to bits, but like he's going to get in behind, so you need to either go over the top or you need to thread balls through to him. But if you're hitting big diags onto him, he is not going to compete physically. So he was up against John Guthrie at times. He was always going to struggle that way. But as in, like I say, first game of the season, like don't expect it to be, all singing, all dancing first game of the season. Like we need to bed into the season. I think it's very, very difficult to predict at the moment how this season is going to go. I think there's going to be a little bit of apathy based off the second half of the last season and the disappointment of not making the playoffs. So I think there will be a little bit of apathy from people, which I understand. But I do think you've got to give it at least 10 games to see how things are playing out with all the new players. Do they come in and hit the ground running? Do they not? Is Smith back? Are these players back? So it's way too early to expect Swindon to just go out and wipe the floor with Northampton 5-0 and everything be, a bed of roses. So yeah, a little bit early to make too much of a judgment call, I think.
The classic example, of course, is Norwich losing heavily to Colchester, wasn't it, on the opening day of the season? Was it 7-1 or something silly like that? And then went on to win the championship, didn't they? So you just never know, do you? Football is a weird old game. The ball boy was so slow throwing the ball back, says Tony, and the steward having a sleep back in the stand. He must have been bored. I have to say, Phil, that was one of the classic photographs. Have you seen it, of the steward fast asleep at the back of the stand?
No, I haven't seen that. But I thought that the stewards in general were probably asleep on the job, as they didn't really have any control of the fans at all. And so it didn't surprise me that one went to sleep.
There's a long time delay with Vic down in Devon, isn't there?
There is. I think we've lost him for a minute.
You there, Vic?
Has he gone to sleep?
Yeah. Vic's doing his own steward impression.
Hello? Am I
Hello.
frozen? What's
There
going
you
on?
You were for a bit.
Yeah, I've gone to sleep. It's the heat,
Did you
honestly.
fall asleep?
Yeah, the internet is doing its thing. Yeah, the internet's doing its thing here, as usual. Yeah, it's interesting, Rob, wasn't it? I mean, there were a couple where we were sitting where people had obviously not been able to sit where they were supposed to sit, and then ended up sitting on the steps next to us because their seat had been taken by other people. And the thing was, you had your ticket, you're supposed to sit where you're sitting, but people don't do that, and then that led to all sorts of problems.
It does. It's a source of frustration many times over, isn't it? Because you've got a group of people who just want to sit anywhere every week, and you've got another group of people who adopt what is the supposed stadium rules, which is sit in the seats that you've been allocated. And whenever you get a full crowd full of away support like we did on Saturday, if people are in the wrong seats, then that's going to be a source of an issue for everybody. And you're right, second half, what was it, 3 or 4 people just sat in the aisles, didn't they? Right, not quite near us. They just didn't try and find another seat somewhere, and the stewards allowed them to do it. Goes against their own policy and their Rook Stadium rules, I'm sure, but they didn't seem to want to rock the boat too much. So, and I guess if the stewards are asleep on the job, that probably tells you the story.
Yeah, and I'm not asleep, I promise. I am here, but the internet isn't always. Yeah, now we got at Cheltenham on Saturday, an interesting game. They won 2-1 at home on Saturday. They beat Rotherham by a goal to nil. McCann and Evans getting their goals to give them the 3 points and get them on the board. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. I know, Rob, it's your favourite team, Cheltenham, isn't it? You love them. And so, therefore, you're looking forward to this one, aren't you?
I've got everybody from my work who are already laying into me about the fact that they're above us in the table and that we've won a game this season and you haven't. We look like we're world beaters. You look like you're in non-league already. We've always had all the comments already. So I'll just let them get on with it and enjoy their moment in the sun. And when we turn them over 4-0 on Saturday, it don't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't. Gus, it's a local derby for us. I mean, I'm not sure what you know about Cheltenham, but they've made a few signings this summer, so it's going to be a real test for the town, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing that Rob touched on this earlier, the thing that I'm going to be really looking for in the next game is consistency of players. One thing that was frustrating to me last year, put injuries aside and put people leaving for whatever reason aside, like Finn Monroe, every week we had a different team. Every week, somebody play really well, like Phil Mavete, play a great game, then he'd be out for 3 games. You wouldn't see him again. And if you listen to Coach Holloway, he'd be saying, "Oh well, what I'm trying to do some things here and trying to play to the other team and put our best guys in to try to match up with them." And at some point, you kind of have to put your best guys in and create an identity for yourself, as Steve was saying, and let them get used to playing with each other. I mean, it's hard to hit that perfect cross to Drinan if you haven't played for 3 games or 2 games. You gotta. So I'll be interested to see if we have consistency in players in the next, maybe as Steve said, the next 10 games, or if every week is a different group of people. There are going to be a few differences, of course, but pick some people and let's see if we can get a cohesive team put together. Would be my advice, instead of just switching people around all the time. I know there are a lot of considerations. People want to play. That's why they're here. But, at some point, I think we need to just stop worrying about the other team and just put our best guys in there and let them play.
What's your view of that, Steve? I mean, consistency is key, isn't it? I mean, that's what, years ago, you didn't have all this chopping and changing. And I keep going on about D. Lesser had the same team for 27 games in a row, which is extraordinary. And that, of course, you take injuries into account, suspensions, all that. You get a lot more suspensions, I think, nowadays with yellow cards, it seems to me. But what's your view of that? I mean, you want a consistent 11, don't you?
Yeah, I totally agree. That was probably one of the things I got frustrated with last year, the chopping and the changing. And obviously, there's nothing you can do with his injuries. But, my concern with Swindon last year was the back line because it changed so often. And if you compare that to... I remember when we went to Notts County away and I was doing some homework because I was doing the commentary and I was looking at Notts County's lineup and their backline went something ridiculous, like 12 games on the bounce, without being changed. And that's the one area of the pitch that you really do want that consistency of a backline, your goalkeeper. And that was my concern sort of last season. And I'd like to see that sort of rectified this season. And I know we've already spoke about, Tafazoli might well come back in on Saturday, but as long as there's not wholesale changes week in, week out, I think that consistency of getting to know your centre-back partner, is your full-back tucking round? Can you trust him to tuck round? Is the goalkeeper keeping the defensive line at the right distances in relation to where the ball is? All of those things are really, really important. And so it would be good if the back line could be consistent along with the goalkeeper over a period of games. Like I say, injuries, you can't do anything about. Suspensions, you can't do anything about. But I did feel last year that it just seemed to chop and change every week in the back line. And that really is probably the most important part of the pitch where you do want consistency.
Peter, hello. Barnet with 3 ex-Swindon players looking good. Do the panel wish any of them were still at STFC? Well, I wonder what name might come to mind here, Phil. Would it be something called Namdi Offerbor? Would he might figure there somewhere?
I think that was probably the worst decision Mr. Holloway made last season, to not really push the boat out to keep Offerbor last year. I would go as far to say if we'd had Offerbor last year, we would have gone up because he would have given us that rock in midfield. And when things were struggling, he would have really held us together. And he's done that at Barnet. I think he's hardly missed a game at Barnet. And, last season at the back end, they were doing well. And the way they started on Saturday makes you think that they're a good unit. And he's very much a key part of it. So I agree with you, Offerbor. Just mentioning Cheltenham, I spoke to my Cheltenham friend who's a season ticket holder there earlier today when I knew I was coming on. He said his feeling is they've made some good signings, that Cots has really got the players going and the crowd, and the fans have really got behind Cots. So It'd be interesting how many they bring on Saturday, but I think it will be a tough game for us.
It might break
Yeah,
200 for once, Phil.
Well, maybe 300.
You never know.
It's a long way in.
Swindon legend Piers Sweeney, of course, has signed for them in the summer. So he spent 3 days, I think, with us. Let's have a look. Hard game on Saturday. We'll have a stronger and balanced side. Hopefully, Glatzel up front. 2-0 win, says Tony. Finley Munro scored on Saturday, says Adrian. And I'm impressed with Negru, says old Dufferatu. Namdi off the ball, Rob. I mean, I don't know. What else do you want me to say? That's it, isn't it?
Well, it goes without saying, doesn't it, really? Because we know all through last season we were really missing a defensive midfield player of quality. And obviously, he developed last season not only into a good, solid defensive midfield player, but if we think of the game at Barnet when we played against him, he was one of their best attacking threats as well from midfield.
Yeah.
So he's a really good player, and he's got the talent. Obviously, Ian Holloway had his rules, and he didn't meet them last year, and that's why he wasn't here. But I think we all regret that. As for the other two, I mean, it's quite ironic, isn't it, that people are saying we missed them both, bearing in mind when Shamanga was here, he had more detriments, comments that I think I've heard from pretty much any Swindon supporter. And Will Wright, whilst we all know how good a player he is, everybody said last year about how poor a defender he was. So I think you can always look at things with rose-coloured spectacles once they're no longer with you anymore, and you think what you've missed as opposed to what you may have gained from other players. But I don't think any Swindon supporter would doubt that the one area of the pitch where we really struggled last season was for a defensive midfield player, and of the type of offer ball that would have made a real difference to our season, I'm sure.
Shamanga had a great song, though. Let's be fair.
Oh, he did.
One
One of the best songs we've had for ages. Absolutely. And he could take a penalty, couldn't he? Let's be honest. He could take a penalty.
Yeah, it was one of the great songs of the last few years. We haven't had many, but that was an absolute belter. Gus, I mean, I think you, in your time early on when you started supporting Swindon, Offerball was one of your favourites, wasn't he?
He was an excellent player. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I mean, those are the early days when I don't think I know very much now, but I really didn't know anything then. But I remember him being an excellent player. And talking about the holes in places that we could use other players, I will be remiss not to mention we should not have so many injuries. And Coach Holloway acts like the inspector in Casablanca. He's shocked to find out that we've had injuries. He talks about running people to exhaustion over and over. That's how you injure yourself. I'm a track coach. The way you train, you don't say, hey, milers, start sprinting as fast as you can until you pass out. And that'll be your training for today. He seems to say repeatedly, nobody's going to play unless he sees lots of effort in practice, which I think is, he said he wants the players on the ball like flies on horse poop, he said on Thursday. And I feel like he's not understanding how you get people in shape as well as he could. And he wants incredible stamina. And he's really put us at a bit of a deficit here early in the season. He takes no credit for it whatsoever, any of these injuries. Obviously, an injury like Kilkenny, that's a whole different thing. But, the Fletcher Holman getting injured, I think he has a Friday night game. Before the game even started, that Tuesday, he said, I ran them to exhaustion. They fell on the ground and they could barely get up. That's how you get hurt. Track coaches know that. So anyway, I don't want to leave without saying this. We have people, we should have a better team right now. It's an unforced error. And I think, honestly, it sits at the coach's feet. We still might have a great season, but we could be doing better right now if all of these injuries had not happened. There's my rant for the day.
Well, you'd have a really good team if they... Well, fair enough. You're allowed to have that rant. That's definite. Talking of tracks, I mean, Amy Hunt, 4 gold medals. If she's not sports personality of the year, I don't know what is. So put your money on Amy Hunt. I think fair enough, straight away. I thought Shamanga was worth keeping for nuisance value alone, and he took a decent penalty most of the time, says Malcolm. I mean, Steve, you worked with Will Wright, didn't you, at Crawley when you got promotion there with them? His form took a dip, didn't it, in the end of his career with Swindon? But I think most people are quite fond of Will Wright. He's a lovely chap, isn't he?
He's an absolutely top guy. Probably too nice to be a defender, if truth be told, because he really is a nice guy. I found him. He suited us because he was good on the ball. So he played either centre back, right-sided centre back, or in the holding role just in front of the back line. And so for when we had possession of the ball, he was ideal for us, because he was comfortable on the ball. He could find a pass. He was able to step into midfield if he was playing at the back. So he suited us in possession. Out of possession, I found what he struggled with. I noticed a little bit of it, or quite a bit of it, at Swindon, in terms of when he gets dragged out into the wide areas and exposed 1v1 defending against a wide player. He struggled in that area. Players would just run at him, push the ball past him and go past him. He didn't have a turn of pace to be able to deal with that. And he struggled in 1v1 situations. And there was at times, although he is tall, he is physically a decent size, I didn't feel at times he won enough for his physical attributes, shall we say. And I used to have him doing the back post zone on defensive corners, which is an important role. And I probably put him there more for the height, but he did okay. But at times he disappointed me as well at the same time. So he suits you if you're in a possession-based team for the attributes he's got with the ball. But if you are defending quite a lot, he can get found out and can get exposed, particularly if he plays on the right-hand side in the back three, is what I would say. But as a person and as a professional, like, absolutely top drawer.
You haven't had a call from Scott Lindsay at York yet, have you?
He's not allowed to take any staff in unless the staff go. And the second thing is it's 4 hours away from Swindon. So not sure my car would make it, to be honest with you.
With training years ago, we were beasted in training, never got these injuries. Do we make them too lightweight? And should have played in midfield, great pass of the ball and shot on goal. That's from Tony. I guess you're talking about Will Wright there. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. We're coming to the end. Steve, thank you very much indeed, because I know you were almost double booked tonight. Phil's Rush In wanted you as well, but I think you're with them in September, aren't you?
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Well, with Phil's Rush In are at 9 o'clock, of course. If you want more Swindon Town content, Steve will be with them in September. When you're next on duty at the county ground?
Colchester.
Yeah. Well, we wish you well. Phil, thank you. Rob, thank you. Gus, as always, thank you. And I'd like to say, A, thank you to the Power Cut at 7 o'clock, and B, I wish the internet would play very nicely for me. And I don't know if you mentioned at the top, Chris, about the women. What a great win for them over Plymouth yesterday. Coming from behind to win 4-2 in their opening league game of the season. So well done to them. A great victory over the Argyle. So well done to them.
Argyle. Yeah. And you were very delayed tonight, Vic. So we apologise for the silences that happened when the panelists stopped talking before you come on. Every time I went to come on, you started talking. So I don't know if that helped. But thanks ever so much, guys. Thanks, Gus, Steve, Phil, and Rob, and Vic. Vic and I will be back next Monday, where we will be reviewing the Cheltenham game and looking forward to Oldham on the Saturday. So take care, everybody. Let's hope we have a bit of rain this week. It'll please everybody.
Yeah.
So, go on then.
Can I just say one thing? Yeah, John, as he has messaged in, says, "Hi Vic, have they moved Devon into a new time zone? Because you appear to be in the middle of it. Nevertheless, we'll see you on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to better behaviour from Mrs. Hartley. So I don't know what. Anyway, but there you go. And that was.
I'll pass on his comments, Vic, and I'm sure Fiona will very nicely speak to him on Saturday about it.
Well, I think I could hear her laughing in the background, so she probably already heard it. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for watching. As Vic said, Falls Rush only on at 9, so you've got time to have a cup of tea and stuff before you tune into them. And have a good week, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you.